Good afternoon. Tuesday, January 11th, 1994. I remember the day starting as usual in our home. My father woke us up all around 5:30 a.m. in the morning. Small rain outside, normal for the season. I remember the smell of the wet leaves creeping through the window of the bedroom I was sharing with my 3 little sisters, and the reassuring footsteps of my mom handling my squeaky baby sisters. A quick gathering of my things, and then up to school. When we returned home in the evening, after doing our homeworks, we sat watching the evening news with Mom and Dad. For some reasons, this is the ritual I treasure the most from my childhood. My dad would decrypt the news for us, for me, and I felt taken care of. I felt safe, as the world around me, around us, felt explainable and less mysterious. I remember 8:50 p.m., a shift in the program, very unusual. We looked at each other in wonder. On the TV set appeared Cameroonian finance minister, his face serious and sunken with fatigue, reading a communiqué announcing the decision to modify the parity of the CFA franc. Modify the parity? What does it even mean? It meant that 100 CFA franc, the local currency shared by 14 countries in Africa, was now worth 1 French franc, compared to 2 French francs few hours earlier. It meant that overnight, millions of families like ours saw half their wealth evaporated. So their purchasing power plummet. And so the future they were saving for disappeared, sliced in half by the long sword of our former colonizer, France. I look at my dad, my hero, and I could read the pain on his face. I watched him as tears started dripping on his cheeks. What was happening? My chest felt tight like a knot, and I couldn't breathe. Why can't I breathe? In the following days, weeks, and months, I was part of the despair and collective trauma, as everyone I knew struggled to survive without recourse, as price of goods skyrocketed, massive layoffs ensued, and public servants like my dad would spend many months without getting their salary. This is what oppression feels like. It felt like suffocation. So, put yourself in our shoes. What could we have done differently? What alternatives did we have? How could we have better protected our wealth? Let me show you how things work on my continent. If you want to save money, what do? In America, easy. You open up a bank account. This is the basic fundamental of starting to plan your financial future. And no wonder 94% of people living in economies like here own a bank account. Where I come from, less than 15% of people have a bank account. How do? They make do. They tontine. They form saving circles. People like Henriette, Amina, vegetable sellers in the local market, they gather on a weekly basis and put $10 in a common pot. Transactions are recorded on the treasurer's notepad. This is the closest proxy to a bank account this woman will ever had. Henriette is expanding her business now, and she can withdraw from the savings circle. As for Amina, when she lost half her goods to a fire a year ago, the savings circles was there to provide an affordable loan to cope with the struggle. For many people in Africa right now at this moment, this is what a bank account looked like. Then, let's say you even manage to have a bank account. How do you invest your money? Let's look at George, Ibrahim, and their friends. They are part of this vibrant and growing middle class in Africa. They work in banks, in telecom companies, and earn wages that are 40 times the minimum wage in their country. They even own sometimes a house, a car, a small land in their village. And now they have some saving. They want to diversify. But when they look at the local stock market, you only have 5 stocks, 5 companies listed, with, share prices that have been flat for the last decade. And even when they look at the bonds market, the minimum entry price is 2 times their monthly wage. If you compare that to America, where you have a well-functioning stock markets that have been there for at least a century, if you are erring on the safe side, you can invest in mutual funds, in ETFs, and if you are more risk-taking, you can invest into the companies, the brands that you love. This is not the case for George and Ibrahim. The local stock market won't do. So, what would be an idea of a low-risk type of investment? In America, I was told real estate was the safest investment I could place my money into. In Africa, investing in real estate is a nightmare. Records are antiquated, easily manipulated by crooks. And sometimes you have the landowners that are selling the same land to 10 different people. And no wonder in my country, 70% of court hearings are related to land disputes. So let me ask you, if you had 70% of chance of spending double, triple, quadruple the money you already put in your real estate piece, will you still think it's the safest investment ever? I don't think so. That's our reality in Africa. Then, let's imagine you are a thriving entrepreneur and you need to access more funds to expand your already successful business. In America, easy. You have the choice between equity financing, accessing venture capital funds, or debt financing, just asking a loan to your bank. Let me tell you about Ida, this beautiful, smart African woman entrepreneur. She launched her fashion business 3 years ago with her meager savings. Fast forward today, Ida has opened 3 stores in 3 different African countries. She has 50 employees and annual sales north of $250,000. Recently, she needed $25,000 to buy more sewing machine in order to increase the production to meet the growing demand of her consumer base. She started discussion with her bankers. And after several months, they came back in their own words with this fantastic offer. Here is the loan, 20% annual interest rate. Think about a fantastic offer. This is the reality of many people in Africa. And what's really worse is that this bank has been racking up hundreds of millions of funds from world institutions claiming they are empowering women entrepreneurs in Africa. This is our reality. So, if you can't do any of the previous things I mentioned, what do you do with your money? How do you keep your money if you are living in my country, on my continent? Well, cash under the mattress. Might look funny, but most of us don't trust institutions. We've seen times and times again regulated microfinances just closing shop and walk away with people's life saving. So even for some wealthy people, they feel like it's safer to build a room in their home and safeguard their cash there. This is our reality. As for Mr. Umaru, he trusts his wealth into his cattle. So he bought 100 cattle that he could wash over his window every morning. He feels reassured. He feels he owns, he has a total ownership, total control because he doesn't trust institutions. It's a little cumbersome to handle the liquidity, you might say, because when he wants to get access to a little bit of money, he needs to displace the physical animal to the local market and try to sell it at a fair price. But at least he has total ownership. So now you have the contest. You understand the differences when it comes to the American or European perspective on wealth and interaction with money to the African's contest. This is the size of the chasm between our experiences, and it's a large one. But now, I want you to leapfrog with me, and together, let's reimagine what wealth in Africa could be. Well, with blockchain technology, what is that? It's this new internet protocol that enables the transfer and storage of value without intermediaries and in a programmable manner. It is essentially a new way to record information, whether money, data, or even art, in a way that makes it difficult, even impossible, to change, cheat, or hack the system. So intermediaries, censorship, and frontiers are non-existent in that new paradigm. It has already disrupted several industries. Let me cite two. The first one, currencies. Bitcoin is the first decentralized, borderless, apolitical currency. Millions of people living in high inflation economies or under autocratic governments are resorting to Bitcoin to send and receive money from all over the world. And for some of them, they even consider it as a reserve currency, a digital gold, because for the first time, they don't have to trust any institution. They only have to trust themselves and preserve their money in a currency that is finite in supply and that doesn't lose value as the day passes by. On the finance side, with protocols such as AV and compound, everyone, even in Africa, can now access collateralized loan instantly without having to discuss with any intermediary. So let's go back to our previous examples. What about our friends we discussed previously? So Henriette and Amina, with blockchain technology, they could basically be turned overnight as their most trustworthy bank. With decentralized wallets in Africa, like Ijara, people now have the sole ownership of their wealth. They can store value, they can send and receive without trusting anyone. They only have to trust themselves. As per George and Ibrahim and their friends, they don't have to wait anymore for the local market to mature. They don't have to be constrained within the realm of accessing only 5 stocks. Now the world has opened up. They can invest in cryptocurrencies across many industries. And for the first time in history, they could invest in the same manner that their counterparts in America or Europe or Asia invest in, the same assets. The world has opened up to Africa. What about real estate? What if, with blockchain technology, and it's happening, we could put the local land registry on this immutable database? Think about it. Suddenly, buyers and sellers can transact with the utmost transparency, security, and trust, making real estate safe again, as it should be. So now, Ida, she doesn't have any more to talk to those bankers. And she can only tell them, go away with your fantastic 20% annual interest rate offer. She could leverage her community, pitch her project, and raise funds all over the world, not only in Cameroon or Ivory Coast or Senegal, but from here, from you, from everyone, instantly leveraging cryptocurrencies. So I hope that by now you can imagine what African wealth could become thanks to that new technology, how we could leapfrog what is our reality right now. But obviously, there are many challenges to overcome, some less obvious than others. The first one, infrastructure. Structural infrastructure has always been a problem in Africa, and in our case, access and costs to internet and electricity still needs to get bigger in order to empower mass adoption. Regulation, definitely there needs to be a framework, a sandbox to enable the innovators to innovate while protecting the investors and the consumers. We should hurry up. This is a $1.7 trillion industry in the making. And we do not have time to wait for America or Europe to show us the lead. Africa needs to design its own rules, its own standards, uniquely adapted to the local reality of the communities. The last challenge, the least obvious, education, because this is the building block for lasting impact. I'm not talking about the standard theoretical education you will get from sitting in a classroom. I'm talking about going where the communities are, in churches, in the villages gatherings, in the saving circles. Talk to people. Show them how this technology solves the single issue they have been under since the past decades. Learning by doing. This is how we call it. Every year, we fail to educate and seize this opportunity of reinventing what wealth could be in Africa thanks to blockchain technology. We compound billions of value creation that evaporate. Millions of entrepreneurs, of millions of software developers that don't get to embrace this technology and fail to catch up the trend. Thousands of entrepreneurs that don't launch, and hundreds of disrupting services that never see the light of the day. It's time to learn. It's time to build. So I hope that by now, by sharing my history, by showing you the African reality right now, and what this disrupting technology could do, you are convinced that wealth in Africa can happen. If you forget about everything else I said, just remember this. Now it's time for Africans to build our wealth, trust ourselves, defy the system, and protect the community. Thank you.